Hello, my name is Rachel, and I love to sell clothes on Poshmark and Vinted. Well, mostly Poshmark. But today's video is I wanted to, give my review of selling on Poshmark and Vinted. I don't really have, I didn't make notes or anything, so this is just going to be kind of an off-the-cuff non-stop ramble about selling on the two platforms. Just a few things I wanted to talk about and see if you guys have had similar experiences. And I'm going to start with Vinted because I've kind of stopped using Vinted because I wanted to love Vinted so bad. I really wanted to love Vinted. It's better for the buyer because they don't take a percentage. It's better for the seller because they don't take a percentage from the seller. They add a small fee to the buyer, but that allows me to, price things a little lower because I'm not taking into consideration the 20% that Poshmark takes from you, which is a huge chunk of money, especially when you're selling things for not very much already. And also, let me wait until I actually start talking about Poshmark to get into the also part there. So on Vinted, I wanted to love them. They are better for the seller, but it also works, in my opinion, it would also work out better for the buyer because they also had more shipping options where if it was a light, just a simple shirt that's under £1, they had a first class $4 mailing option as well as heavier items up to the $8, because Poshmark just has a flat $8 shipping, and Vinted had 3 tiers of shipping, so you could save a little money on shipping depending on the item, as well as they were only taking, I think it's only a 5% that they tack on to the buyer's amount. They call it a buyer protection fee, but it would come out to a lot. The item would still come out to less than trying to buy it on Poshmark. That's what I'm trying to say. It should have been more beneficial for both me as the seller as well as the buyer because of the way that I could then price things. Anyway, but it just there was just no traction on Vinted. I don't know why. I was treating it the same way I was treating my Poshmark and sharing my link on all the same Facebook pages that I share my Poshmark link, but people just weren't really buying from Vinted. I think I've had 3 sales. I had one sale that was actually from Poshmark where it was an expensive item. So the person was like, well, if you sell it on Vinted, you can sell it to me for the amount that you would get selling it to me for more over here at Poshmark, and we both save money. And so that's what I did. I moved it over to Vinted, put the price of the amount of money that I would have made selling it on Poshmark for $20 more, because I think it was $100. It was a vintage Betsy Johnson item. So they were able to get it for the maybe not quite 100 because I sold it to them for 65. So I think I had it listed at 80 or something like that. But so I was able to get the money I wanted, and they were able to pay the price they wanted. Is when all that came out too. So that's why I think I don't understand why Vinted just isn't as but Poshmark is definitely where it's at. Poshmark, I've sold over 100 items on Poshmark. Poshmark has been crazy as far as the customers being there and me making the sales. It's so weird. But you lose so much money on Poshmark. But back to Vinted, because I'm still talking about Vinted. I still want to finish discussing my experience on Vinted. So also Vinted, on my very first sale, it was on a Friday, and they didn't get the shipping label to me until the following Tuesday. Over the weekend, I was like, okay, maybe they just don't do it on weekends. But when Monday came and I still didn't have it, I contacted them, and they said that it can take up to 2 business days from the sale. So if it happens on a Friday or Saturday, you might not get it until Tuesday. So that was crazy. But since then, it's been instant. So it was, I don't know why that first one took so long, but since then it's been instant. It's within minutes of the sale, then I can request my shipping label. But that first one, it just took forever. So, but that's been my experience on Vinted. It's just been a non-starter, I guess, and I still have a couple of things on there. Everything on there is under $10, but it's just no one wants it. I guess no one wants those things. And eventually, because I moved a lot of the stuff that I had on Vinted over to Poshmark just because nothing was selling on Vinted. So eventually those few items that are still on my Vinted might get moved over to my Poshmark as well. Or they might just get sent to Goodwill because they might be items that just aren't worth reselling. Just there just is no interest in the reselling. I have so many business suits that I need to sell, and two of them are on my Vinted for like $10. But I guess people just don't need or want business suits anymore because I can't even get $10 for them. So I might end up donating a lot of my business suits. There's a few that I might still try to list, but a lot of them I think are just going to end up getting donated to Goodwill. Okay, so I guess that's been my experience with Vinted. I want to love it, but I just haven't been having any luck over there. So Poshmark, let's move on to Poshmark. Poshmark is crazy. Poshmark is a lawless land. It's like, I'm using them because that's where I'm having the success. And I haven't really had a lot of complaints as far as, just their service goes. They're really quick at getting you your shipping label. That's like instant. I do like the flat rate $8 shipping where I can ship up to 5 pounds worth of stuff. I think that's awesome. It was like one of the reasons I didn't want to use Mercari because my shipping option was $11. And I just think that's ridiculous because I could ship on my own through PayPal, and most items I could ship in a padded flat rate envelope for only like $8.80 through PayPal. So I just feel like it's a waste of money to have that $12 shipping, and you can't. And then if you try to ship it on your own, you run into all sorts of other issues, like there's no protections or anything. You have to ship through them. So I couldn't even bring myself to sign up for Mercari because of that, because I just couldn't. I just felt like the buyer was getting ripped off on shipping, and I was like, I'll just stick with Poshmark because at least they have better shipping. Vinted had great shipping options. No one wants to buy from Vinted. There just aren't as many people on Vinted, I think, is what the whole thing is. Like, Poshmark has millions of users, and I just don't think Vinted is that big. I've known people who've had great success on Vinted, but I just haven't been one of them. And, like I said, it's not because my prices are too high, because I've definitely put really low prices over there. I just wasn't having any luck. So, but on Poshmark, Poshmark has a very, I want to say, it's like an MLM feel. It's very, I don't really get into that side of it, but it feels almost, culty isn't quite the right word, but they're just they've got this community, and they want you to do these live shows, and they don't necessarily have a separate section for people who aren't trying to make this a full-time business, because I'm just trying to get rid of clothes from my wardrobe. I don't want to be a business, but they're constantly like, do this to make your business grow, and that to make your business grow. And yes, I know I have bought a few things at Goodwill specifically to sell, but I'm not intending to make a business out of it. That's just sort of the thrill of the hunt. That's just sort of a fun little side hobby on occasion. I haven't been doing it that often, but yeah. And half the time, I just barely break even on those things anyway, because I haven't quite figured out what's good and what isn't as far as that's concerned. But yeah, it's just... Yeah, just Poshmark just has this and if you become a Posh ambassador, which I still need to share, I think I'm halfway to sharing. I've hit every criteria except for the sharing criteria. You've got to share 5,000 of other people's items, and I'm only up to 3,000, couple hundred on that. And you have to share 5,000, reshare 5,000 of your own items, and I'm only up to 2,500 on that. So it's going to be a while before, I could just sit down one day and just share for hours, but I'm just not willing to put that much effort into it at this point. It'll happen when it happens, and I'm not sure there's really a lot of extra benefits to being, a Posh ambassador that I would actually utilize, because like I said, a lot of it is very MLM-y, where it's and we have these conventions, and we'll go and there'll be the self-help speakers and just stuff like that, and it's just I don't want to get into all that. I'm just trying to clear out my wardrobe. But and then they also have reposhing, which on one hand does make a lot of sense to me, because they don't allow returns unless the item was grossly misrepresented. So if you purchase an item and it just doesn't fit, they won't approve the return. If it were just me, when I used to sell through eBay, I would on a case-to-case basis, of course, but I would make exceptions and be like, okay, that's fine, just send it back and I'll refund your money. But Poshmark is like, no, you can't just send something back because it doesn't fit. It's got to be grossly misrepresented, and that's the only way we'll approve this refund. So they have this feature called Reposh, which is from an item that you purchased. It would just copy all of the item from the previous seller so that you can resell it. And it starts with a little blurb like, I loved this item, but I'm ready for something new. And so I understand that the Reposh makes sense, but at the same time, it's also, I've noticed there's some Reposh drama on Poshmark. I've tripped into, because there's comment sections on items and on people's profiles where people were talking about different issues with someone would buy something from them, then immediately turn around and sell it for twice as much, and people would get upset about it, and other people were like, well, once I bought it, it's mine, I can do whatever I want with it. And it leaves open all sorts of stuff like that. And I kind of get that, because I sold this vintage Betsy Johnson shirt before I understood it had value for like $20 because it had a little rip in it, and I was like, it's old, it has a little rip in it, $20, and of course it sold within seconds. I didn't realize it had a high resale value. But someone actually went into the comments, and I'm glad they did this. I'm actually glad they did this, because then I knew with my other Betsy Johnson stuff, because I had a couple other items from a similar time frame and similar line, and I was able to get good money for them, because I probably wouldn't have known they had this high of a resale value without this person in my comments literally like chewing me out for selling this item for only $20. Being like, they're going to turn around and sell it on some other platform for like $100, and I'm like, well, if they want to, that's on them. There's nothing I can do about that now. It's been sold. But thanks for letting me know, so I'll know to sell my future items for more money. So now I'll occasionally err on the side of too high of a price, because I can always bring it down. So if I have something that, like, especially a lot of the old lip service, I'll start it really high, and sometimes people will come and just snag it, and I'm like, must not have started that high enough. And then if no one's interested, I'll just keep dropping it until someone bites. So that's how I've been handling that. But it's like, that's another thing where they I feel like they get a little predatory, like with some of the old lip service stuff. Then I'll have like 10 people messaging me saying, hey, you gotta let me know when you list more lip service, and I've had to politely decline them all and tell them, I'm sorry, there's just been too many people who've asked me that. There's no easy way for me to keep up with everyone who wants to know, and then I would have to go through this whole list of people before I even got to you. So I'm just going to continue just randomly listing things when I get around to it, and if you happen to catch it, great, and if you don't, I'm sorry. But it's just too much, I'm just trying to unload my wardrobe. I'm not trying to become part of that particular community, because I'm not collecting lip service. I'm just trying to sell some of my old lip service that doesn't fit me or whatever. I sold a bunch of the vinyl that was deteriorating a little bit, and there are people who can actually preserve that and know what to do with that, so I was able to sell a lot of that and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't want to get into that kind of cutthroat community of collectibles, because there's a lot of people who are in it just to buy and resell, like trying to find the cheap stuff that they can quickly turn a buck on, which is fine. It's everywhere. We're all just trying to make a little cash, but it just gets very predatory, and I just don't want any part of that. I don't want any part of that weird infighting drama over used clothes. And let's see what else. Oh, and also there's a lot of like closets on Poshmark that you have to pay attention. Pay attention to when the last time the person who runs the closet logged in, because I've stumbled across a whole bunch of items where I'm like, how is this amazing item not sold for this really good price yet? And then I'll go look at comments and see that people have been asking questions, but no one's ever been answering. And then I'll finally find the place where it's like last active, and that seller will have not been active for 2 or 3 years. And it's like, how does Poshmark not clear those out? Because I know there has to be some people who've just come along and bought one of these items, and then it never gets shipped to them because that person just hasn't logged into their Poshmark in 3 years. And when that happens, because I actually had that happen to me once with an item where I purchased this item, the seller never said anything to me. And shortly after I purchased the item, they put their shop on vacation mode. But it was after I'd purchased the item. They never contacted me to let me know there was no way I was getting the item or there was something wrong or anything like that. They just ghosted me, and then after a certain amount of time when it didn't ship, Poshmark just refunds you. So, but like, I feel like with some of these closets, that has to have happened multiple times, and why doesn't Poshmark then just automatically put that closet either into sleep mode or hide it or something? Because I just feel like that's a way to have disgruntled customers, is you think you're getting this great deal on this awesome item, but that seller no longer exists. They're like, maybe something happened to them, or maybe they just didn't care, or maybe they were scammers, or something. I don't know. But it's just weird. But do pay attention. Do pay attention to the closet you're buying from. If you feel like it's too good of a deal for too nice of an item, pay attention to like the comments and the last time the seller has actually said anything, because that might be why they've just they just don't exist anymore, or else that item would have sold a year ago or 2 years ago when it was listed. So yeah, just pay attention to all of that. It's just weird. And you think they would have a better system in place to, and maybe they do, maybe just some of the closets I stumbled upon hadn't had enough no ship issues for them, because I feel like if you didn't ship a certain amount of items in a row, they would at least put that item not available all over the closet like they do when you go into vacation mode or something. I don't know. Anyway, back to, I'm going down I'm chasing different rabbits. I'm not very good at a coherent, straightforward sort of thing. Okay, so let's see what else about Poshmark. But yeah, they do take so much money though, because it's not only the 20%. If the item is $15 or less, they take $3. So regardless, like if you want to sell something for $10, instead of them only taking $2, which would be 20%, they take $3, which is even more ridiculous when you have things you want to sell for $10. Because I have some things that I feel like I don't think they're worth a lot more than that, but if I sell them for only $10, I'm only getting the $7 instead of the $8, and I know it's only $1, but I mean, that's just kind of makes a difference on whether or not it's worth packing it up, I guess a way around that would be to do lots, so I could have a higher price, so put a couple pieces together and then sell them for $20 or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, and not only do they take the 20%, but you're also losing another, I think it's 3% for the credit card transaction fees. So you lose a lot of money. I really don't know how people do turn this into a business, because I guess that's why so many prices on Poshmark are so incredibly high. I see so many things on there that I'm like, who's going to pay that much for that? But I guess it's working, because they keep their people, they're sellers who have 1 million followers and have sold thousands of items, so I guess that works for them. But it just seems so weird to me, because it's like, I tend to, except for a few, I understand collector's items. I understand some vintage lip service or some vintage Betsy Johnson, things that you just can't find anymore. That makes perfect sense to me. But when it's an item that you can go to the website and purchase for the same price or even a couple dollars less, that makes no sense to me at all. And I don't know, but it must work. It must work, because there are all these sellers that are doing just that, selling things that you can still go and get for the same price or less, brand new. So, and I'm assuming they're doing it just because, when they lose so many fees, even though they're selling it for the price they paid, or in theory the price they paid, they might have gotten on sale or whatever, they're still losing money because of the 20% that then comes out. So, and there are some, on Vinted, you cannot use stock photos. They even ask you when you're about to upload your photos, when you put all your photos in, before you can upload them, it says, do you have the right to all these photos? So on Vinted, you cannot use stock photos. But I'm guessing that's not a rule on Poshmark, because I've seen entire stores that are nothing but stock photos. So I think Poshmark actually maybe even encourages that. I feel like that they're not really about being a sustainable second-hand sort of website, the way that I feel like Vinted kind of sells itself more as, buy second-hand, help the environment, stuff like that. I feel like Poshmark is just about sell it all for inflated prices and buy drop ship. We don't care. Drop ship from China. And well, actually, I don't know if you could actually do real drop shipping because, you know, you have to use the Poshmark label and it has to be trackable by Poshmark because you don't get paid until Poshmark sees it has been delivered or the customer accepts it. Because I did have one item that for some reason my post office didn't scan. And I was so happy that it was a really sweet, awesome buyer because she got it, she accepted it, she gave me a nice 5-star rating, and I still got paid for it. But it didn't even get scanned when it got delivered. So that would have just been out in the ether somewhere if the buyer had been, say, dishonest. Because I had told her, I was like, I don't know what happened. I mailed it, but it's not tracking. And then she's like, oh, and she let me know she just received it and everything was fine. And I'm so grateful that it wasn't necessarily someone who was like, ooh, I can just not say anything. And and this will, I'll get the item for free. And then I'll also get the refund because Poshmark will be like, the item was never delivered. And but yeah, so that didn't happen. But I can see the possibility for that sort of thing happening if it didn't get scanned. I don't know what happened with my post office that day. But anyway, my point being is, like, if it gets scanned and then if the customer doesn't accept it within, I think it's 3 days, then Poshmark just automatically releases the money to you. They have that 3 days to say, oh, this wasn't as described and I want my money back. But that's the only reason you can return it, is if it was grossly misrepresented by the seller. Yeah, so that's why I don't think that drop shipping would really be a thing that they could do. However, there are definitely people who are buying stuff from like Shein and AliExpress and, you know, all the inexpensive Asian websites, and then marking it up a lot, like in the territory of those Instagram sites where you see the Shein dress for $100, the $20 Shein dress for $100. I see a lot of that on Poshmark, and I'm guessing it probably worked really well a few years ago when fewer people knew about the Asian websites. Like, I feel like there's probably still a lot of people who don't even, like, because they're not online a lot. Like, I have a friend who's not even on Facebook or any social media and doesn't do much shopping online at all. So I imagine there are people out there who, you know, are just like, oh, this cool secondhand website, that's, you know, it's got to be a unique, different item. And I imagine that worked really well a couple years ago when fewer people were aware. But now it's just like, this one person had Shein earrings still on the Shein card. They're $2 Shein earrings that were still available on Shein for $2 on the card that said Shein for $20. And I was just so confused. But I mean, it must work for them. And I guess if it's been working for them, then, you know, obviously they're going to keep doing it. But that's just wild to me. It's just wild. And it tempts you. It tempts you to be like, I wonder what I could get away with here. And I have sold Shein and Romwe clothes, but I don't think I've sold any of them for, you know, a lot more. I've sold them for maybe $1 more than but because I buy everything on sale from even Shein and Romwe. I'm buying all that stuff on sale. So a $15 dress, I might have only paid $12 for. I would list it at the $15, which was the original Shein price, and I would still get $12 for it, so I'd break even. So I'm obviously not making money from that, but I'll admit, I have, you know, sold some of those inexpensive things for a little bit more than I paid for them. But as far as I know, I haven't listed anything for more than the original price on it. So that's sort of been, but still, I mean, like I said, I can't fault all these people. It must be working for them, and we're all just trying to make a buck. It's just crazy to me. I just can't believe that people don't know about these other things and are paying this type of money for these things. And I've had a little bit of luck. Like, a lot of my stuff I'm just letting go really cheap, and I'm obviously losing money on a lot of it too, because, you know, it's stuff I've been wearing. So obviously there's a degrade in that value unless it's a collector's item. There have been a few lip service pieces that I have made money on, you know, even compared to the price I paid 10, 15 years ago. Some of them I've sold for double what I paid 10 or 15 years ago, just because they are a collector's item and they are unique, and And there are people willing to pay it on some of those items, but it's like, you don't even know, like I was saying with the Goodwill, it's like, I don't necessarily know what pieces are going to do well. It's the same with my old lip service. Some of it does really well, sells instantly, and other pieces just sit there forever. And there are a few pieces that I'm not going to let go for less than a certain amount of money. So I'll put it on there and I'll leave it there at that price, because normally I drop prices until it sells, but there are a few items that I'm just leaving at the high price, and if someone wants it, they can pay me that for it. And if they don't want it, I'm happy to not get rid of it. So I have a few things like that on there too. But for the most part, I'll list something. If it doesn't sell within the first week or two, then I'll drop the price, because every so often they'll run a special where if you drop the price publicly by 10%, not to individual likers, but just they'll email all the likers that you've dropped the price, and they'll also give those people a shipping discount on them. And I take advantage of that whenever I can, because, that saves both me and the buyer some money. So I do take advantage of that, and I do, every week or so on most of the items, not all of them, because like I said, there are a few that if I can't get the money I want for them, I'm happy to keep them. But there are other items that I'll just keep dropping. And as I mentioned in a previous video, when it gets down to about, because like that special won't work below $10. It's got the item price has to be at least $10 for them to then offer the discounted shipping to all the likers as well. So when it gets down to 10, if it doesn't sell at $10 for a week, I actually will delete it and completely relist it, not just reshare it, but delete that listing and completely relist it at a higher price, so I can start doing the dropping down again to get that shipping discount for the likers. So that's another little thing I've been utilizing. I felt a little weird about doing that, but a lot of you did say that is pretty common, so I don't feel so bad about doing it now. But it's just like, and it's worked. Like, I've actually, because I also feel like when you make it a completely new listing, it gets a little more attention in the algorithms than just something that you reshare. So it's been, so that works, and I've actually sold a few items that way by relisting them at the higher price. But then once I give discounts and stuff, it usually ends up about the same price as that low price that we started at, that I deleted it at and then relisted. But let's see, what else is there about Poshmark? The following. In my opinion, you should only follow closets that you're interested in, but they're all about numbers. So like I want to say maybe 2,000 followers, and I would say 1,800 of those 2,000 followers are other sellers and aren't actually interested in the types of things I sell. They're just other sellers. And I kind of understand it, because like when you reshare your own items, it goes into a feed of everyone who's following you. So they follow you hoping you'll follow them back, so that you'll see their new listings and their shares in your feed. But I feel like if it's not someone who has stuff you're interested in, all you're doing is clogging up your feed. So I am probably, because I did a lot of follow back initially, but now I don't really follow back anymore unless they have a similar closet to mine, because stuff that I would be interested in, or stuff that I feel like the actual buyers following me would be interested in. Because when I share items, I try my hardest to share items that fall into the category of the types of things I sell and the types of things I like, not just randomly share any item. Because when I share items, it goes in again into my feed where my followers will see it. And so my followers who are actual buyers, I want to be able to share things that they might actually be interested in, as well as when people share back, if I'm sharing closets that have a lot of similar stuff, then they come share my stuff. They'll hopefully have a lot of followers who are also interested in these same types of things. So that, strategizing on that follow who sees what sort of thing a little bit better. Because like, again, when it's just someone who has a bunch of Abercrombie and Fitch, I don't really like, the people that who are following me for the lip service probably aren't interested in that, and I'm not interested in that. So I don't understand. I mean, I guess it's just a numbers game, and then like the people don't. It's just about getting it all out there. But I just feel like if we kept it more, I don't know. Like, I want my feed filled with things I'm actually interested in, I guess is what I'm getting at. So I just don't understand that need to follow 1 million people and have 1 million people follow you if none of those people are interested. But I guess I'm kind of in the like minority of Poshmark. There's a little alternative section, and we're kind of in the minority. So I guess for the majority of people who are following and they all have kind of the same sort of thing. So it would make more sense. It's just because that we have a slightly different thing going on that, to me, it makes less sense. But I don't know. Let me know what you think about all that down in the comments below. It's just some thoughts I had on the whole following and sharing. Like, I've spent nights where I've just stayed up and just shared like 100 items, and then had, and they'd be like not necessarily from one closet. What I'll do is I'll put in a brand I'm interested in, like Lip Service or Trip or whatever else, and then I'll just share a ton of items from that search. So it'll be a ton of different sellers, and then they'll in return, not all of them, because I don't always share back either, because you miss a lot unless you're going to be on your phone 24/7. You're going to miss a lot of people who share your stuff, and it just gets lost. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But then I'll have like at least 50 people share my items back. But I've never had a sale that I could attribute to shares. I've suddenly had 50 people share my items across who knows how many people who are following them, but I've never then within like the next hour had a sale and been able to say, oh, it's probably because this person shared it, or because someone shared it, this person found it. And I've never been able to make that correlation. So I'm guessing it does work, but I've just never, I don't feel like I've ever actually seen it work. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it does. It must. They keep doing it. But it's also part of that sort of MLM feeling part of the whole thing, where it's like, you should be doing all of these things with your fellow people, and you should be recruiting people to come sell, and you should be sharing each other's stuff, and just haphazardly and with no rhyme or reason, and it just gets a little weird. I've also never done like a live Posh show. That's something that they apparently do, and I've never done any of those. That sort of stuff. It just seems like all that seems like work. I don't, and as I said, I'm not trying to make this a business. I'm just trying to clear out my closet. So I feel like my perspective is probably different from someone who actually is trying to make a business out of selling online. So, but anyway, I guess that's about all I wanted to talk about. I'm not sure if you can even count this as a review. It's more just of a ramble of things I like and don't like about Poshmark. I mean, I guess my review is, it's where the people are. They've got millions of people on the platform, and sales happen there more so than they have for me on other platforms. And I know other people have had a lot of luck with other platforms. And the only one I've tried has been the Vinted. So I can't really, I guess, speak a lot to it. But like I said, I just couldn't bring myself to do Macari with the ridiculous shipping. I guess I could try Depop maybe. But I feel like when I looked them up, they also had like a ridiculous shipping. I don't know. I can't remember. But maybe I should look into Depop as well. Or maybe I'll just stick with Poshmark, because I feel like Depop was similar in fees. Macari has lower fees. I think Macari is only 10% instead of 20%, something like that. But I can't get over that shipping thing. I just feel like I'm ripping off the buyer by charging them $12 for shipping an item I know I can ship for like $8 or $9. So yeah. But yeah, I guess that's everything I wanted to discuss. I'm sure once I turn this off, I'll be like, oh, I should have talked about, I don't know. I'm sure there's something else that I'll be like, darn it, why didn't I talk about this thing? But I think I've pretty much covered it all. It's Poshmark is crazy. Poshmark, there's just a lot of different little separate communities. There's also like the whole In Search Of community, which they'll put up a picture of an item that they're looking for, and I guess that's kind of cool, but also kind of annoying. Just because, it's like, oh, I've been looking for that item too. Oh, they don't actually have it. They're just searching for it. But I mean, I guess it's cool that they have a community like that too, where you can do the search for, and you can find maybe find a lip service item that, you know, you missed out on 20 years ago and are hoping someone out there in the world has it and is willing to sell it to you for less than $500. Yeah, it's just, it really is crazy, some of the prices that I've seen on there. I've seen items that, I mean, the $500 was not an exaggeration. I saw a lip service coat for $500, and I feel like it's just sat there at $500 for the entire time I've been on Poshmark. I don't know if anyone's ever actually going to pay that for it, but a lot of times those items, because I don't click on them, but if I clicked on it, they might be someone who's trying to do a trade as opposed to sell, because there's a lot of that too, where they'll be like, I'm actually looking to do a size trade. I now need this item in a small, but I have it in a medium. Anyone out there, the reverse. And so there's a lot of I guess it's kind of cool things, but well, since I'm not really into that community and I'm not really trying to collect anything like that, I just want the bare bones. I just want to be able to sell my stuff and not have to deal with all this other like people social stuff. They want to make Poshmark a social media platform. The way that they approach it, they're very into making it a social platform. They even have like reels of the stuff you're selling, so you can do little video stories type things, like Facebook story type things, I think it was. But it's just like, I just want to sell some clothes. I don't want to do all this stuff. I don't want to do I don't want it to be another social media site. I just want it to be somewhere where I can sell some clothes. And not as a living. I just want to get rid of some of these things. But we'll see where it goes. Like I said, I'm doing well on it. They just do take so much money. But that's it. I think I'll just stop here. I think I've rambled enough. I think you guys get the gist of how I feel. Plus, I've been talking for over half an hour now. I'm sure I can pare that down, though. Hopefully. I say that, and then my finished video is like, I'm at 36 minutes. My finished video is 33 minutes. But yeah, so that's everything I have for you. Let me know what you think about all this down in the comments below. Let me know what your experiences have been on Poshmark and other selling platforms. Like, I know some of you have told me your favorite platforms before, but tell me again what your favorite platforms are and why you like them and what type of luck you've been having on them and what you think about Poshmark. And like, I feel like Poshmark is unique in that trying to be a social media platform kind of feel, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know if that's true for some of the other platforms, or is that pretty much specific to Poshmark? But yeah, it just, and do you get an MLM-ish feel from Poshmark? I know that's weird, but let me know if you also feel that from Poshmark. And on occasion, they even sell their own overpriced branded merchandise, and they do it like as once in a while specials, and you've got to hurry up and get it before it's not available again. So they kind of do that, you know, FOMO sort of feel to it, and that also adds that MLM feel. Yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and listening to me ramble nonstop mostly about Poshmark. And if you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, of course you give me a thumbs down, and please tell me all about it. Comments below. And please subscribe to the channel. And I hope everyone is just staying happy, healthy, and safe in this incredibly crazy world we're living in. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.